Ladies and gentlemen, in 2025 we will see the end of the old matrix. But what does this concept mean? Is our official world of the visible just an illusion? Is it controlled and steered and manipulated by secret forces from the background? Like many myths, also the matrix, or some also call it the old 3D world, has its true core, but this true core looks completely different as most people are thinking. So in this video, I want to explain what the matrix means from an astrological perspective and why the end of the old matrix at the same time is the beginning of a new matrix. So please stay until the end, because these thoughts are so important to understand the developments of the forthcoming months and years. And it's so important that we all can form this new consciousness that I was already talking about, and bring into this reality instead of leaving it an illusion. So the matrix, basically this concept, this term was born in 1999 with the movie. Most of you remember Keanu Reeves as programmer Neo. He discovers that the world around is just a simulation, a computer simulation. In reality, people, they are lying in capsules, and they are wired to a huge machine, and they are all just kind of the cannon fodder for this giant system that uses this life to fill their algorithms. And what has become iconically was the decision between the blue pill. You take the blue pill and then you just stay asleep, or you take the red pill and you awake in this dramatic reality. It's uncomfortable, but in the end you see the truth behind. And of course, this is a concept that all the truthers in this world have adapted for their own opinions, like in Esotainment, for example. But in the end, this concept is much older. Nearly 2,500 years ago, the Greek philosopher Plato, he had this cave parable, and he said, okay, what we are seeing in the visible world, this is just like the shadows of what's going on in the light, in the truth. Or also in the Indian philosophy, these concepts of the veils of Maya, these veils of illusion that blur our view, our perception of the real world behind all these veils of Maya. And in Esotainment, since a couple of years, we have this concept of the 3D world and the 4 and the 5D world. So basically most people, they live in this very narrow-minded 3D world, and it's our target of those that are spiritually awakened to ascend up to the 4D and to the 5D world, or in the meantime it's even then the 10 or 20 or 574 D world. If I would participate in this competition, I'd say, okay, astrology is omnidimensional anyway, so you cannot go further than that. But of course, this is just more like a childish play. In the end, it's this very elite thought behind. All humans before us have been blind, and we are the first one who can really see the truth. So what now has been called spiritual narcissism is a bit relative to that. In alternative thinking milieus, since Corona, we know that these borders between conspiracy theories and official mainstream theories, that they are kind of liquid, and sometimes it's very difficult to decide what is what. But there we also have some organizations that have been suspected to be these kind of secret forces behind the matrix, like all these secret organizations like the Freemasonries or the Illuminates or also this digital financial complex, like we've perceived since Corona, huge world companies like Microsoft, like Meta, like Amazon, like Google, like Apple, that they are kind of having these strings in their hands, or the big financial companies like from finance, like BlackRock or Vanguard, or even the World Economic Forum, or powerful countries like the USA or Israel, or maybe even the bureaucracy monsters of the European Union. And yeah, it's undoubted that any of these organizations definitely have a huge influence, have a huge amount of power in their hands, power among mankind and power among our personal behavior and our personal opinions. But what many people don't understand is, on one hand, of course, Google can manipulate many things, and Google can steer many things and can influence our opinions. But if nobody from us would be on Google, if nobody of us would use Google, then there would be no power at all. So it's always a kind of feedback loop between these power organizations and us as one mankind. And this leads me to the astrological concept behind. If we look at this matrix, at this power system, then there is one mighty indicator, and this is the planet, or now minor planet, Pluto. Yeah, and you see it here in this animation. The International Astronomical Union, the EAU, they thought about labeling Pluto as a double planet, because Charon, the moon of Pluto, is more than half as big as Pluto, and they are so near to each other that the common gravity point is outside of Pluto. So it's kind of a double system, and they are rotating all the time around themselves, and they always watch the same face. Yeah, so they don't turn, they always see the same side of each other, and so it's like a self-hypnosis. It's like a tunnel view that drives us more and more and more into our mental world, into the world of imagination, also in this world of hermetic world views. Yeah, so Pluto is the program, Pluto is the model, also the business model, but also the thinking model. Pluto is the planet of information. Yeah, it limits the multidimensionality of our world into, let's say, one fixed core. And of course, this is always very incomplete, but this incompleteness makes this thinking model so extremely powerful. And of course, Pluto is also the planet of our generations, of our, let's say, common collective values. So in the end, if we look at this topic of the matrix from the astrological perspective, there are indeed some invisible energies behind all these processes, and these are all these astrological energies, or other people maybe perceive them as ghosts or spirits or some kind of extraterrestrial beings. It's no different. It's just, let's say, the clothes of our thoughts, yeah. But in the end, this energy, if you label them astrologically or spiritually or whatever, it's always, let's say, these same energy patterns and movements in the invisible world. So is Pluto, valgo the matrix, valgo the 3D world, is it the product of evil forces? No, not at all. Pluto basically is neutral. It's what comes out if all these different power structures link to each other and interact with each other, and the result over the course of years and decades and centuries is our society structure. Yeah, and this is the matrix of which many people are talking about. Yeah, and classical matrices of the Earth age, for example, were all these organizations. Yeah, with all these organigrams, and or in former days, yeah, the castes in India, or all these different, let's say, very rigid social structures in the Middle Ages. But now, as Pluto has been in Capricorn for nearly 15 years, these matrices, I also call them structocracies, they became immensely powerful. But it's not the power that there is some, let's say, overall hidden force that manipulates us all. No, it's always a feedback loop between the powerful and ourselves. Yeah, this means, of course, those in power, they have, let's say, offerings for us. They have products and they have entertainment offerings and all these stuff, information, news, everything. But how do they create them? They don't just invent them, let's say, in a neutral space. No, they have market research, and with this market research, they measure our behavior, they measure our wishes, our needs, they measure what we like and what we don't like, and out of these market research measurements, they create these products for us. Yeah. So in the end, it's always this feedback loop. Yeah, these products and these, let's say, things from the matrix that we feel encapsulated in, that we feel trapped or imprisoned in the end, they are created indirectly by our personal needs and wishes and values and dreams. So, and with this feedback loop, of course, we also have an influence on the matrix. So is this matrix, is this Pluto evil or bad? No, not at all, because in the positive perspective, this matrix gives us shelter, gives us security, gives us orientation in these very chaotic maelstreams of our world. But from the negative side, it also keeps us trapped in these models, keeps us trapped in these eternal loops. Yeah, it keeps us also trapped in these, let's say, hamster wheel of power, that we always want more and more and more and more. More money, more success, or if you're not concerned by these motives, then maybe more attention, more love, whatever. So Pluto always keeps us running behind something that we never can reach. Yeah, so this is also the negative side. And it also keeps us in our rigid thinking and value structures. And the old values from the Earth Age were you have to work hard, you have to be very reliable, you have to be very stable, you have to do every day the same things to step by step build your wealth and build your existence. And now in the Air Age, the complete opposite suddenly is the success factor. No, you don't have to be very stable, you have to be very flexible. Yeah, you don't have to be very reliable. No, you have to be very unpredictable. You have to create something new. You have to become disruptive, to use this fashion term. So if you look at the matrix from this perspective, then it's not kind of any omnipotential evil external force. No, the matrix is the sum of us all, of our personal behaviors. It's so near to us. And if we want to change this matrix, first of all, we have to change our own thoughts. We have to change our own behavior. Yeah, because in former days, it was not possible that such mighty, powerful matrices could develop, because every couple of years, every couple of decades, we had huge wars, we had famine, we had plagues, we had natural catastrophes that kind of erased half of the matrices, and so we had to build them up from scratch anyway, yeah, from time to time. But now, it's positive that we don't have these plagues anymore, that we're not so dependent on these external factors anymore, but on the other hand, our matrices also don't have any external regulations anymore. So we need other ways to change our outdated, our old-fashioned matrices. Yeah? We have to find ways to cleanse to clean, to make soft and fluid our rigid, sclerotic old Plutos. We have to make a new Neptune out of our old Pluto, speaking in astrological terms. So will this lead us to a new paradise? In the first years it may seem like that, but of course every Pluto, every matrix just works for a certain period of time. So in the beginning we will say, this is much more free and it's much more adapted to our personal needs and to our lives and to, let's say, the spirit of the 21st century, the spirit of the air age. But of course in some decades or maybe even in some centuries it will be crusted and old and sclerotic again for our offsprings, and our offsprings, they will then crush our now new matrix, because it will be the old matrix then in the future, and create another new matrix again. So this is the eternal flow of human evolution and of human development. And now in 2025, this crushing of the old matrix and this birth of the new matrix is very extreme. Among many factors, one major factor is the shift from Pluto, from the sign of Capricorn, which was very rigid, which was very sclerotic, which was very, let's say, very stiff. It was like the building up of these giant structocracies with all these rules and laws and all these very complex society developments that we are not able to react, to move, to act anymore. And this Pluto has been there in Capricorn from 2008 to 2024, and now it shifted into the sign of Aquarius until the year 2043, and this is kind of the bursting up, this is the disruption, this is the revaluation of all values. This is the battle all against all. So it becomes very chaotic, very fluctuative. It becomes a rapid speed where everything changes in a completely unpredictable way. We see it here in this scheme. I try to draw it down. In the old Pluto in Capricorn, we had these very, very square structures and everything very normed and regulated. And now with Pluto in Aquarius, all these structures, they are, let's say, broken up. They are kind of, they get square and they get curves, and so it's a completely shift in our society structure and of course in our consciousness. And what is very symptomatic was the inauguration of the US president. If you look 4 years back, the inauguration of Joe Biden, we see the moment where he was sworn as president, we had Pluto in very, very late Capricorn, exactly at midheaven. So what was this presidency about? It was this very slow, dusty, sclerotic try somehow to keep the old matrix alive. And even though Joe Biden went into this presidency quite fresh and vital, after a couple of months he looked really very, very old and used up, because he had to fulfill this horoscope. Now, 2 weeks ago, the inauguration of President Trump, we had Pluto exactly on the sun, which is representative of the president himself. So he's the personified disruption, the personified change, the personified revolution. So what does all this reveal us about the future? We have this revaluation of all values, like Friedrich Nietzsche said. So will this be a liberation or will it be a destruction? Of course, astrologically, it's always both at the same time. You hardly can decide if this is a destruction of something valuable or if it's just a liberation. And depending on which side you are, you will see it more in this or more in that direction, because Pluto always is this tunnel view. Pluto always thinks he has the absolute truth, and behind this absolute truth he is running very consequently or even very fanatically, and everything around is just blurred out. You don't perceive it anymore. You just see the things that are in the focus of this tunnel. And this creates so powerful power systems because it's very simple explanation. It's very simple values, very simple cause and effects that are, let's say, statuated within these limited worldviews. So the new matrix will be built at a rapid speed, and we will perceive that now many people are kind of front running with their belief in absolute truth. And of course there also will be much nonsense about that, and we will see on one side all these very fanatic, let's say, priests of mind and gurus that say with absolute truth what is right and what is wrong for us, what is good and what is evil for us, in fields like, I don't know, nutrition or partnership or profession, or in our financial affairs. And so it's so important to activate our feelings, our emotions, to ask ourselves, okay, these opinions, these values that they are demonstrating, do they help myself in my worldview and also in my self-fulfillment, or is it hindering myself? Yeah, so we have really to decide this from case to case. And on the other hand, also people from our personal surrounding will come like that and start to front run with their opinion and their absolute truths. And so, I mean, at the moment, this disruption, they are kind of celebrated by many people, but they also will be very, very painful for most of us, because we have these very rapid and unpredictable flip-flop effects. So, for example, people who were very close friends to you, one single small event and it's turning in the complete opposite. Or even people that you always thought are very stupid, one single event and suddenly you realize, oh no, this guy or this woman is very intelligent indeed, and we should cooperate more in the future. So we will have extremely many of these unpredictable flip-flop events, not just in global politics or in local politics, even in our personal surroundings, in our private and in our professional lives. Yeah, so what's the secret behind this battle all against all? On midterm will become a cooperation, everybody with everybody. And the sooner we understand this, the better we can use this new zeitgeist, and the better we can build up a positive new matrix for our common life. What is also a bit ambivalent is, I also talked about this in my annual forecast for 2025, is this new emotionality. Yeah, because it's really very difficult to keep the balance between too little and too much emotions. If we have too little emotions, then it's kind of, we have a huge armor where we cannot let out or let in any feelings, and so important and crucial information or chances or even risks we don't perceive. We don't talk about our feelings, about our opinions, and so like a high velocity train, the developments run over us because we are too late articulating what we are wanting. On the other side, if we have too much emotion, it can easily become very irrational, very hysterical, very over-exaggerated, very, with very much injustice, hysterical, histrionic, yeah, or even so drowned by our subjectivity that we think, okay, we are the only ones who have divine truth and all the others are wrong. So it's so important now kind of to get into your emotions, kind of to really get down to earth, seek complicated discussions, not while you are completely loaded, but when you think, okay, now I'm really in peace and in harmony with myself. This is so important, because otherwise you can really crush friendships or let's say important social networks in your life within seconds. Yeah. So what's important for all of us, we now from mid of February 2025 until mid of March 2025, we will have unique astrological constellations where we can leave samsara, the wheel of fate. So we can get out of all these, let's say, overall matrices, but at the same time also from the matrices that we've built ourselves around our lives. So in these weeks, please use this crucial time for self-reflection, for introspection. Think about your position in life, get clearance about your feelings, about your relationships. And there are a couple of very easy practices how you can really get into this new consciousness. First of all, please do something unpredictable, something unexpected every day. So very easily, for example, if you always drive to work over a certain path, over certain streets, then just one day take a completely other road. Or if you always go to lunch with the same people into the same restaurants, just go somewhere completely else. Take yourself from time to time 1 hour where you don't plan anything. Just get out of all your habits, all of your expectations. Yeah, just go outside and drift around and see what happens. This is so important to free your spirit, let's say, to wash away the rigid Pluto that all of us have built up during the last 15 years, and to make it flexible, to make it open for new impressions, for new encounters, and so on. So do all these practices to make a new, fresh Neptune out of your old Pluto. Because when the old matrix is bursting, then at first it will not feel like a liberation. It will feel like a shock. It's like if our ship has been crushed by the great flood in the middle of the sea, and we are just like driftwood drifting through these endless amounts of water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. And we are lost in these crushing whirlwinds and maelstroms around. But if we leave the last pieces of our old matrix go away, if we understand that our old ship was powerful and gave us security on one hand, but on the other hand also hindered our spontaneous life enormously. If we understood this, then somewhere at the horizon a new island will appear, and we can go on the land there, and we can build from scratch a completely new ship, a completely new matrix that is much more in the flow with our personal lives and with our feelings and with the things that we think are important now that we are more and more in the middle of the 21st century. And this new ship will not be the ship of somebody else, it will be our own ship. So let's build this ship together. Ahoy, all the best, and thank you so much.